Good evening, everyone. I'm Jennifer Beste, and I currently hold the CSB Coach Chair in Catholic Thought and Culture Chair, and along with my co-sponsors, the Eugene McCarthy Center, IISS, the Cultural Affairs Board, and Exploring Latin American Cultures, I'd like to welcome you to this program, Hyphenated-Americans, the Successes and Challenges of Undergraduate Immigrants at CSB SJU. Also, I wish to thank Matt Lindstrom, Brandon Woodard, Edwin Torres, Aaron Kelso, and Jacqueline Perez, whose leadership, vision, and behind-the-scenes organization made tonight possible. Before introducing our panelists, I would like to just make you aware of another immigration event. On October 6th, the Coach Lecture is entitled The Politics of Immigration and a Catholic Counter-Narrative. Dr. Heyer, author of Kinship Across Borders, will critically examine U.S. political, economic, and cultural immigration paradigms and explore the resources the Catholic intellectual tradition brings to bear on this pressing moral issue. As you entered the room tonight, you received a handout on Catholic social teaching, which I hope you'll find useful, whether you return for Dr. Heyer's lecture or whether you only stay this evening. Seeking greater justice in the context of immigration reform, I believe we're wise to consider and reflect upon the Catholic tradition's criteria for recognizing the extent to which global societies are morally good and just. And I gave this handout because Professor Leininger gives you criteria for each principle of Catholic social teaching. One final observation. As I've watched media coverage on immigration over the past year, it has struck me that the voices of immigrants themselves rarely register in the media or in our national debates concerning immigration. Tonight, we are privileged to hear four of our own students, Anais Wittrock, Abdirizak Jama, Mai Tong Yang, and Edwin Torres, share their personal experiences with you. After hearing their stories, there will be some time for you to ask questions. So thank you very much for coming tonight, and special thanks to our four panelists.
All right. Hi, I'm Anais Wittrock. I am very humbled to be here. I feel as if, there could have been a better person up here, but, one of my best friends chose me to be here, so I'm going to try to give you an awesome speech tonight. So I'm really nervous. I hope I'm not looking at this the whole time awkwardly. First of all, I'd like to give you my background story, and then afterwards talk about the highs and lows, the mountains and valleys of immigration, and then second of all, why am I here? Besides the awesome food, I'm not gonna lie. My friend Erin was like, will you do this? And she's like, there's gonna be food. And I was like, yes. I didn't really realize there's gonna be so many people here today. Someone was like, you could imagine people in their underwear, which kind of makes it worse a little bit. All right. So I came here 8 years ago, which it's a young enough age to get me accustomed to America. It was really easy for me to learn the language, fit in, start dressing like other women that are American here. But it's also an old enough age to where I got rooted in the Ukrainian culture. And, to be honest, you kind of feel like a nomad. Where do I belong? My sense of belonging, is it where I've lived the most or where my heart is, What do I tell people? Am I a proud Ukrainian or am I a proud American? Another thing that was kind of a valley is the family dynamic. When I was little, I'd go over to my friends' houses and, I'd see their families and they'd be so much different than mine was. And for me, that was very difficult to kind of just be like, hey, we're different and that's okay. I always thought that, wow, why isn't my family like this? Kind of like, what's wrong with me? So that's been a valley. My mother, She is this beautiful intellectual with this effervescent personality, and in Ukraine, she was respected. She attained jobs that were high-position jobs, and when she came here, one of the things that hurt my heart was seeing my mother get disrespected. Not because she looked different, she has blonde hair, she's Caucasian. She could easily fit into the American culture by way of dress or design. But when she spoke, she has this thick accent. It's actually really cute. But, that differentiated her from the others very quickly. It's like, you're different, I'm scared, that's it, trust gone, walls. And for me, that was really hard to see my mom, this scholar who couldn't even find a minimum wage paying job. The good things about being here is the American dream. Where would I be if I was still in Ukraine? Oh, I guess I should have mentioned I'm from Ukraine. If you guys don't know where that is, it's right underneath Russia. Most people, don't really know where that is except for now because it's been on the news everywhere. But yeah, just a better life. If I was in Ukraine, I would, as a 21-year-old, I would probably be a mother of like 3 or 4. I would probably be married to a husband who didn't respect me as a woman. I would probably, if I did get an education, for example, if I was to be a surgeon, I would get paid about maybe 75% less than a male would. So that's been one of the treasures, is just having that, that education and being able to, have a dream and have it be a reality. And I think that's been so wonderful coming to America. One of the biggest things is, why we came here. And my mother has sacrificed a lot, so has my father. And I thank them today for that. Why? So I don't believe that immigration is just an immigration. I believe it's something deeper than that. I believe that it's treating our brothers and sisters as equals, as human beings. And I'm a very religious person, and I love God. And I think if we were to be all the same, we would be. But God made us different for a reason. We as individuals want to be a whole person. And I think we can learn a lot from each other in our differences, especially here in America, because we're kind of a huge melting pot. So our differences, I think they make us so beautiful. And what happens is if we stand together and we combine our differences and we learn from each other, and we get that sense of respect for each other and learn humility and sympathy for another human being, we could be strong. That is called, that's called what is the word I'm looking for? That's called ideas that change the world and success and, social economic status that is rich. But if we take our differences and we shut down and, we begin to push others away because someone's not like us and it's different and it's scary, we have this thing called the Holocaust. We have this thing called dehumanization. We have this thing called civil war. So my last thought today is, I don't know how many have you been on an airplane? Raise your hand. Yes? Okay, so majority of you will know what I'm talking about today. When you're on an airplane, I always look out my window and I see these houses, right? And they're so small, and I imagine these people, and it just seems like I'm one person in this array vast world. What can I do? I compare myself to that, that bounty of land and bounty of water, and I'm I'm nothing compared to this. But today I just want to tell all of you, no matter if you're an immigrant or you're not, that you're special. I feel that you are an individual today who might teach someone something that could be life-changing, that could be universal. I I wanna say something. Hopefully, there's a person right there who knows what I'm talking about right now, chemistry, and I want to tell everybody today that you are a covalent bond. You are very, very, very tiny, right? But you are the hardest one to break. Thank you.
All right, so my name is Edwin Torres. I am a junior, majoring in political science and history. I lived for now 12 years in California. Well, no, like 9. I've been here for 3 years now. But I was born in El Salvador. It's a little country. I think it's the third most smallest country in the world in Central America. So I'll be sharing with you quite a bit about my life, and I might get nervous because fortunately, there's more struggles than successes. Well, now in the last 3 years, more successes than struggles. But I think it's also good to reflect on our struggles and how that makes who we are. So once upon, 21 years ago, I was born in 1993, May 8th. I was the only kid to be born in that hospital in San Salvador, the capital. A few weeks earlier, there was the Civil War just had ended in El Salvador, and in which my parents belonged to the Arenas. Anyone who knows their history knows that the Arenas was more of the privileged family or political party. And the FMLN wanted to, distribute the wealth. So what happened was the Civil War started in the mid-'80s. And my parents, my grandfather was a sugar chemist. I know. He had a sugarcane plantation, and my mom grew up very privileged. So growing up in El Salvador, it was amazing. I only saw the positives. It was a beautiful country if you have any time to go to travel. It's the land of volcanoes, and it's a beautiful country. But in the mid-'80s, 2 of my uncles got killed by the FLMN or the MS-13 or the guerrilla warfare that was going on. So they started killing a lot of my family members. And my grandfather, who owned a lot of land, decided to sell the land and try to get their kids to the U.S. So he had 12 children. My mom was the last one. So that takes some time. So what happened was that the war kind of ended. Although the treaty was signed in 93, there was not a lot of things going on by the 90s, or that my parents could know of. But they wanted to go to the U.S. and have the American dream, provide us a better life than what we were given. So they applied and some type of political asylum, some type of status. And unfortunately, they were not able to prove at that time that my older brother and I were actually the sons of my mom and dad. So my parents came here earlier, and they decided to travel to the U.S. and left us behind until we were able to get some type of status. So my dad left me when I was only 8 months old, and so did my mom. I grew up without my father for the next 8 years. So for 8 years, my father was this person that I would talk to over the phone, and every so often when so my parents, whenever they were able to get money, my mom would be the only one that would travel because my dad would say, well, if only one of us could go, you go. And so that happened for about 5 or 6 years, just travel maybe once a year, and I would see my mom, but not my father. So I thought that although I had talked to him over the phone, I had this image of what he looked like. But about 2001, we were able to get some type of status, and we were so thrilled. I was going to go to Disneyland for the first time. That's the only thing I knew about the U.S. A lot of my family members back in El Salvador were like, oh my God, they tell a story that in the U.S. you could find money in the ground, that you could do so many things. And so my life in El Salvador for the most part was really good. It was good. I loved it. So I came to the U.S., and I had this grand vision of what the U.S. was. I remember looking out from the airport window, and it was crazy to see LAX for the first time. I landed, here's this big dude, my dad is kind of big, and he comes in, gives me a huge hug, and it didn't feel right. It didn't feel like my father. So one of the struggles was trying to get used to having a father now, I guess finding out how to love each other. I mean, he loved me, but I just was very resentful. But I thought that my parents were doing much better than what they were than what in reality was, but it wasn't true. And 3 years after I was 8, so about like 10, actually 2 years, in like 03, 04, we lost our home, and I was homeless for the first time. My father, at that point, lived in Long Beach, and the owners of his factory let us sleep in the factory. At the point, I didn't know what was going on. If you've seen The Pursuit of Happiness, we were young, my brothers and I. My little brother was born here. He was born in Van Nuys. But I was only 10, and I didn't know what was going on. So it was actually pretty interesting to explore the parks and actually sleep in them, or go to different places and or shower in the oceans. And I didn't know what was going on, but I knew that it was not the life that I had hoped so, coming from a very privileged life in El Salvador. So it was really hard. It was really hard adjusting, and that was the summer before I entered 4th grade. So it was a very rough start, and I was like, I just don't like it here. I want to go back home. I want to go back to my friends. I want to go back to my life. And so as I grew older, and we were only homeless for about like less than 5 months, but yet it feels like an eternity when you look back and the struggles that you go through. My parents both found a job, and we soon got a home. And then in 08, everything was pretty good. That's like the golden years, until 08 and the recession hit. And at that point, we still lived in a city called Long Beach. And then both of my parents lost their jobs, and then we had to go move in with my aunts and uncles up in the deserts of Victorville, if any of you know your California geography. I guess once again, we were homeless, but at least we had somewhere to go. So it was challenging always trying to grow up. My parents would not want us to speak Spanish at home. So because they didn't want me to be bullied, they wanted me to be an American. They wanted me to have the life that they were not given due to the chaos that was going on in their country. Although my grandparents were very educated, they didn't get an education. So it was also hard in 08 because the recession hit, and my mom was diagnosed with cancer. And she had intestinal cancer that, fortunately, we had no money to take care. So she was treated very slowly as the hospitals. You put yourself in the list, and whenever the list gets up closer, then they call you and you could get treated. That happened for about 4 years. She had about 3 surgeries. She's alive and doing much better. So it was hard. I remember going to sleep, and my mom would cry with pain from the tumors that she had in her stomach that would not allow her to fall asleep. And all I could do was just sit by her side and try to rub her belly and calm her down. And she would say that my hands will have the power to heal, and she'll fall asleep. So I enter high school. In all of this upheaval, I find out that I have no status. I came on a plane, though, so I had to enter legally. So I didn't know. Well, my parents missed a lot of deadlines, and I moved 18 times before I graduated high school. So in the process of moving, my parents and the Department of Homeland Security trying to reach my parents for more than 10 years, and us constantly moving, we missed a lot of the deadlines to apply and actually have some status. although my mom and dad, since they had to come earlier, did have some type of employment status, myself and my older brother didn't. Now I'm like, okay, what does it mean to be undocumented? I mean, I'm still able to live an okay life. I mean, is someone going to come to my place and take me back to my country? It was a lot of things that I didn't know who to look for and to get answers. So the only reason why I found out was because in high school they talked something about called FAFSA that apparently I couldn't apply for. So soon enough, we started looking for immigration lawyers, and we did, and we were able to get some status. But usually when you do that and you break the law, you have to go back to your country and spend some time, usually 5-10 years, until you could re-enter the country legally. Well, since I didn't break any laws, I just overstayed my welcome, as they stated in the paper. They graciously, the Department of Homeland Security, allowed me to stay in the U.S. until my time expires and I'm able to apply for citizenship. But so currently I do have status, but I can't still get FAFSA because I'm not a citizen. So how did I pay a beautiful college like this, who comes with a big price? And that's one of the struggles, is always finding $48K in scholarships each year, which most of the school does pay for quite a bit of it, but always struggling to meet each year and be able to get an education. So although my life has been up and down, mostly down, the last 3 years has been amazing. I've been able to travel to DC, New York, Indianapolis, visit so many influential people, and who has inspired me to continue my journey, although it has been tough. But to never give up, no matter what you're going through, no matter if you're homeless in a company. Let me tell you, it was a fish company, so it was not that, it was smelly. But you never give up. Always look at the positives, and my mom will always say, we didn't leave El Salvador for us. We did not leave El Salvador for your dad and myself. We knew that once we left, we will work hard until we die, until you get the dream that we want you to have. So she will always say, don't complain. Work hard, because one day you will have everything that you ever wanted, and hopefully you're not sleeping in a company. So that's my story. Thank you.
All right, first of all, I want to say thank you all for coming, and I would like to share a snippet of my life, my story with you. So to start it out, my name is Mai Tong Yang, and I am a junior here, poli-sci major. So I'm going to start with my story. I was born in a refugee camp in northern Thailand, and my family, I would say, is from Thailand, but not necessarily, because I'm Hmong, and Hmong people, we don't have a country to call our own. We don't have a nation or a state to say, this is ours, this is mine, this is my place of origin. So I would say I'm from Thailand, and my family lived in a refugee camp for the longest time. And if you don't know much about refugee camps in Thailand, they are cramped, they are dirty, they are not well equipped. I have to say there are a lot of help from foreign countries, but it was just not enough to help the Hmong people to thrive and survive. And so my parents made the conscious decision to come to the United States. But before they did that, they had to escape a war. And they were trying to escape persecution from what we would say the Lao community or the communist. And so they knew that if they stayed in Laos and did not migrate to Thailand, they would die. So either way, you have a choice. You stay or you die, or you try to escape and you die. Which one would you do? You would try to escape, right? So we got to Thailand. Boom, I was born, all right? But I'm the middle child. And then, anyway, when we were in the refugee camp, lived there for 2 years of my life, and then my parents came to the United States. But they took a long process, all the visas and all the applications. And once we got to the United States, we thought, you know what, this is the American dream. This is what we finally hoped for. But it wasn't as easy as they made it sound like back in the refugee camps. This is the American dream, but we were all the way down at the bottom. Matter of fact, we were below the poverty line. We lived below the poverty line. And we would be so hungry every day. Every day. You know what? I even tried peanut butter with rice because I was so hungry, all right? And I have 8 siblings, so that means that sometimes I would starve myself so that my siblings could get to eat. Now, my older siblings, all right, they got to take care of themselves. But me, I was starved so my 4 younger siblings could have that chance, that opportunity to have enough energy to learn at school, enough energy to dream, enough energy to fulfill their passions and their goals. Eventually, my parents were able to get more help from family, more help from the community and the government, and we moved a little bit up the economic ladder. But despite that, we still did not have enough money to pay for the bills. We did not have enough money to, basically, we only had enough to pay to survive, barely survive. And a lot of the times, people have this notion that immigrants don't work hard. Hold up, we do. We work super hard, but it just isn't enough, and we don't know how to show that. We don't know how to tell you that we are working so hard, yet minimum wage is not helping us to pay bills. Minimum wage is not helping show you that my child is working this hard so that I won't be able to live in poverty. And so, how did I get to come to this school? Like Edwin said, through scholarships, through hard work, through a lot of passion from teachers and friends and family and support. And you know, I never thought that me as a little starving girl from a refugee camp in northern Thailand who could have died made it all the way to even see the President of the United States in the Oval Office a couple years ago. Thank you. And I just want to say that there's time. This is the opportunity, the time to listen to all the students, immigrant students' stories, and take that time to understand that, you know, not all immigrants are bad, and not all people who think bad of immigrants are bad. There's maybe miscommunication, misinterpretation, and that's why we have these types of panels, so that students have that opportunity to learn and to gain perspective. And with that, I would just like to quote a quote from, I believe it's Martin Luther King, that darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only love can do that. And each and every one of you, inside you, there is love and there's compassion. And you have to find that from within and evoke that to other people, because then after that, it becomes a cycle. And that's what we want to promote. So thank you for listening.
Good evening, everybody. I'm really honored to stand before you guys today. And to begin, first of all, my name is Abdirizak, and there is a beautiful meaning behind that hard name. So the meaning of my name is, it says, it's the servant of the provider. The servant of the provider. Okay, I'm really nervous, so a smile will help. First of all, I was born in Somalia, Mogadishu. My dad is from Ethiopia, so my dad was immigrant before. So like from my dad's side, I migrated a lot of ways. So my dad, he migrated from Ethiopia to Somalia in 1985. And Somalia was a stable country, and it had its own government and its own system. And my dad met my mom, and my mom is Somali, and they got married there, and we have a big family of 10. I'm from a family of 10, 7 brothers and 2 sisters. There's a lot that I went through, and usually I like to think of the present, not the past, because of my background information. So I just would like to share a little bit with you about my past. There is no words could summarize what I went through and what my parents went through. And my mom, she went through a hard life because, as most of you know, Somali people, they have the same religion, and most of them, they are very close to each other. So when my mom married to an Oromo guy who is from the next door country, and there is a big rivalry between the two countries, it was really hard for her to live. So in 1991, when everybody migrated, my grandma, they migrated to Kenya, and my mom, she stayed there. So all they did was, there was no work. Everybody was working to survive. So my mom, she used to run a little restaurant. In the morning, the first way she started her business was one of our uncles gave her about $10 in Somali money. She went and she bought a goat and she started her business through that way. So in the night, her business will be, she will not profit anything. Her profit from that business was what we could eat. So she will bring the food for us at night, and she won't eat anything, and barely she just takes bites from what we eat. That's how we survive. So my mom, she was really strong, and she didn't want it to leave her country because that's all she knew. She only knew Somalia. But when in 2005, when she lost our big brother, when our big brother was killed, we moved to Kenya, and I was a student. I was 10 years old when I came to Kenya, and I went to school there, third grade, and that's when I started learning English. English was really hard. So the most challenging word for me was how old are you? There was how old are you? It took me a couple months to memorize that. I learned English in Kenya, so when I first came to America in 2010, I felt like I knew English, but whenever I tried to communicate with people, nobody could understand me. And me either, I won't understand anybody. So that was my first challenge. My teachers, they put me into the lowest level of English, and I felt like I knew this. So they will give me kindergarten books, and I felt like I understand this, but when I tried to communicate, nobody could understand me. So I feel like I'm a little bit messed up. But the most important thing that everybody should know is, as a society, what makes us society is our difference. Everybody has a difference. So our difference don't tell us who is better than who. Life is like a circle. If you're better than somebody, it means your role or your purpose is to give back to that person. And that person should appreciate. And if you look at what's going on around the world, it's not that Somali people are bad people because they're killing themselves, or Iraqi people chose to live like that. No, life is not like that. Those people don't want their kids to die. It's the political things going around the world. Everybody trying to be the best person. Everybody trying to have power over other person. Everybody trying to tell some other people how to live. And who suffers through that is the society, is the people who live in there. So I'm really honored, especially my floor mates. They decided to come together, and that was really beautiful. They said, Abdirizak, we will come tonight. Just knowing our difference and appreciating that is really beautiful. Thanks, everybody, for having me.
Thank you all. There's nothing to say when I don't have any words. But thank you very much. Aaron, I think we don't have a mic set up. Would you mind, since you're one of the key organizers, having the mic and seeing if anyone has any questions tonight? Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for any of the panelists?
Hi, my name is Kayla. I just wanted to thank you, first of all, for sharing your stories. I was just wondering how the CSB SJU community has been in terms of respecting your cultural differences or understanding where you're coming from in terms of cultural backgrounds. I'd just like to hear a little bit about that.
Oh, it's on. I think for the most part, there's more positives than negatives. I mean, coming from San Pedro, California, I was not a minority, so I never knew what that felt. I never knew that I have to be more proper, or don't speak slang, or explain why I'm doing stuff that I'm doing if it's more cultural. So it's a lot of explaining and a lot of educating. And sometimes I tell myself, I didn't move 2,000 miles to educate others. I moved so I could educate myself. But I think in the process, it's also good to educate others because we grow as a community. So, a lot of people were here last spring, most of you. So there is some negatives, but we're working hard, all of us, and to make it much better than when I came in as a first year.
Ooh, okay. Hello? Oh. I think that St. Ben's and St. John's has been more and more accepting, and I think that a lot of students here are curious about a lot of the cultural diversity and people from various backgrounds and ideologies here on campus. And I appreciate that a lot of students are curious and they want to learn. And I just think that we just have to give them the opportunity to understand where we're coming from and to hear our stories. And a lot of the times I think they don't, maybe they do, maybe you don't, I don't know, but you have to realize that it's really hard for a lot of the immigrants to share our stories because we're afraid just like you to share our stories. We're afraid to be judged. We're afraid that you're gonna think that I'm the bad person, but then you're probably afraid that I'm thinking you're the bad person. And so we just have to communicate with each other is that it's okay to be curious about one another, and it's okay to learn from one another. And I think that that's what both institutions are doing a better job at currently.
I think that perhaps asking someone about themselves, I think we talk a lot. We love talking about ourselves, but if you just ask someone, even if it's how's your day going, they'll open up to you. And I think that's very vital because, sometimes people look different and that's how we identify that someone's not from here. But, it could be someone like me, someone who looks the same as every other woman, but like a lot of my friends, they never knew I was from Ukraine until they came to my house and we started speaking Russian and they were like, what is going on?
And I feel like in our school is really a good school and it's really good environment. I don't think everywhere is like this. So thank you guys, thank you St. John and St. Ben for having this beautiful environment for us. And the most important thing is our difference is not something that should define who we are, our friendship. Oh, this is from that person and he has to be friend with a person from that same place. We're all human beings. And we can still be friends with our difference. And that's the most important thing. I feel like I have that kind of environment here. I can still be who I am and be friend with anybody. And that's the most important thing to me.
I would like to add something. I can't remember who said this. I heard it a couple nights ago that it's not our differences that keeps us apart, but rather our judgments that keeps us apart from understanding each other. So let's celebrate our differences while celebrating our similarities as well.
I guess I'll go first. Yeah, I mean, that's like about 2,000 miles away, and I'm here in Collegeville, well, St. Joe. Actually, some people in the admissions know that my entrance to the school was not something that I had planned. Literally, I applied like the day before, the day before the scholarship deadline, and I think some of my papers were faxed, and then I quickly that night went to the website, I forget, and then applied for it. So I was gonna go to Tulane. I was a finalist for the state of California, top 15 to go to Tulane, but I was one of the 5 we didn't get selected, and it's kind of like the Gates, if you know the Gates. It's called Posse. So my counselor had just been to this trip, which private colleges, they travel throughout the United States to see private schools and basically tell students from low socioeconomic backgrounds that you could go to a private school. And she was so excited. So I was like crying, I didn't win the scholarship, my life is ruined. And she was like, I have this PowerPoint, I want to show you pictures of this college in Minnesota. And I was like, I never even looked at the state of Minnesota. I had no idea where it was located. I'm not lying. And I guess I fell in love with pictures, and they did bring her into fall. You're smart. And then, so I fell in love, and then he's Matt Byrne, who's not here today, but he did send me a text saying that he was unable to come, but he wishes us the best. He's the reason why I'm here. He would call me several times, make sure everything was right, and just that attention to detail to constantly call this individual who we had never even seen. And then I had a beautiful Skype session with Jillian, and everything worked out. So it was meant to be, I guess.
Okay. Hello? All right. You always have to like double check because so I studied abroad in South Korea during my junior year of high school. So I went for a full year. And when you're abroad, you study, but there's a lot of cultural studying too. So not as much studying and with academics. And so I'm like, yeah, South Korea is so fun. And then I came back to the United States. I'm like, did not take my ACTs, okay, so I had to take steps by step, little by little. I didn't do college research, this is all my fault. Parents were kind of angry and they're like, why didn't you study, why didn't you do this? So eventually I got all my stuff together, pulled my stuff together, as they would say it, and just started applying to a lot of different colleges that I had an interest in. And then in particular, there's a beautiful and intelligent lady in the purple over there from admissions who was in contact a lot with my advisor in high school. And eventually I came to campus and it's really weird. I talked to a lot of students and like once you get on campus, there's this like community feel. It just comes behind you and like hugs you and like, you're St. Ben, St. John students now. And that's what got me, was this community hug from somewhere. And so, and that's kind of how I began my interest in St. John's and St. Ben's. And then there's the, financial aid package aspect of it that really resonated with me and my parents. And so here I am, 3 years, woo.
For me, it was really different. I didn't have anybody recruit me here. So, and for me, like my mom, she went to school till 8th grade. So she wanted me to go to college. That was very sweet of her. But she didn't know anything about college. So she'll tell me, she'll pound her face, you gotta go to college. But she didn't know any idea of what kind of college I should go. So I'm from St. Cloud. I was going to technical high school. And there's also the financial aspect. So I was just had in my mind, I'm gonna go to St. Cloud State University. But at the last minute, one of our Somali elders told me about this school, and I visited once, and I didn't had I wasn't thinking I could afford that much money, but the financial help I was glad to be here. So it was like a last-minute thing, and I'm really honored to be here.
I reside here in Collegeville, so instead of 2,000 miles away, I'm more like 2. This is kind of like my second home. I never thought I'd be going to St. Ben's, St. John's. I was quite against it, and this might sound a little weird, but the reason I came here was Jesus, and I don't know. I remember taking a left, and I hit St. Ben's and walked into this weird building that was the monastery, and one of my good friends, Sister Claire, was there, and it just kind of fell into place. And I think the reason why I'm here is because of God.
I also just want to add that I didn't get the opportunity to see the campus, as they would know. So imagine trying to sell a school when I've never saw it until the first day I got here. So it was shocking. But it was kind of welcoming. Dean Connolly was there waiting for me. He knew exactly when I was going to arrive. And he made sure everything, I was welcomed and I felt at home. But so I didn't get to see the campus, but I sure did love it once I got here. So.
All right, if anyone has any more questions, just wave your hand. Okay, cool.
I liked your comment about the problem isn't difference, it's judgment. So I'd like each of you, if you would, to share one of the valleys, because we've talked in my judgment here tonight a little too much about the peaks. I want to hear a little bit about the valleys, because this goes out of, remember, a very big valley we were in last spring. So if each one of you could share a judgment that you faced based on where you're from and who you are that hurt, because people need sometimes, maybe it isn't intended, but they need to hear what that kind of judgment of you might be that you've had from a fellow student or a staff member or a faculty member that hurt.
I'm sorry if I was speaking first. Something that hurts me a lot, and still does, and maybe that's the reason why I do so much, is that I don't want people to know that I'm here because of my color of my skin. I don't want people to think, thank you. I don't want people to think that I didn't deserve the thousands of money that St. John St. Ben's has graciously given me. And sometimes I always hear conversations about how, I didn't get this, financial aid. I have 20K in loans. Granted, I'm not going to have any loans, but good luck trying to find 48K each year when your parents only make half of that. So that's what hurts me the most, when the assumption that the college students here don't deserve to be here, because then that's taking money from other individuals who might deserve it more. And that's why I do so much. That's why when people think of me, they're not going to say, okay, he's here because of his color of his skin, and that's something that I'm trying to work at, but it is a reason why I put myself out there. I'm in MDI, Senate, RA, volunteer with the McCarthy Center. A little shout out to myself. I got the Truman my freshman year. That's why the reason why I do so many things, honestly, so I don't get judged for my accomplishments.
For me, I face a lot of, let me say, judgments. One of the judgments that I face is some people one day I was walking in the school, that was in high school though, but somebody just called me Osama bin Laden. And I just laughed inside myself, and I was like, do you understand what you just said? Do you just understand how awkward you sounded? Yes, I might share the same religion as him, but do you know I just lost a brother to the same kind of group? So sometimes what I face is I have to run twice. Run from somebody who's judging me, and also run from the same people who are from that same people, that the reason that the same label that people give me, I'm running from the same label, and the people are labeling me the same way. So those are one of the challenges that I face. Thank you.
I would say kind of the same as Edwin, that it hurts me really bad when people, they see me, the color of my skin, and think, oh, you know, she's a minority. Maybe she didn't get here because she didn't work hard, but because we need that extra color on campus. She's that percentage that we need to lure in other diversity, other minorities. We need that stat for our campus. But no, I would just like to say that a lot of students, especially students from low income and minorities and immigrants, a lot of times we have to work extra hard, 2 times double, because we know that if we don't do 2 times double the work, like the average student is gonna be here, and we're down here because we have all these stress and struggles at home. Like, for example, my family specifically, my parents deal with post-traumatic disorder from war. And so they have to deal with their own problems, and then I have to deal with that while having to help them pay the bills, while having to do my homework, while having to make sure that my passions are still online, make sure that I have money for college, all these other things. And a lot of the times when you see a person, it's kind of like you see a book. It's like, okay, are you judging the book? No, you have to take time to just understand the student. And a lot of times we're just afraid to talk to one another. All of us, we're afraid of judgments. And I don't know how we're gonna do this. Maybe this is for another forum, for another panel, but somehow we have to get rid of that fear of one another, of judging so fast. And so, like Edwin, that's why I'm active on campus, not only because I want to show that I care and that I deserve to be on this campus just like each and every one of you, but because I'm doing it out of my passions of wanting to serve the community. Thank you.
I think kind of like Abdi is just, you know, sometimes one person could, from a minority, could influence a mass of people to, you know, visualize that minority a certain way. I think that's one of the bigger reasons I'm here today, is because sometimes, you know, there's some women, especially from my country, that have represented themselves not in a way that I would find affable. And for me, that hurts, because, you know, one person that could change a lot of your minds, you know. You could think of this minority group as the same person almost. And I think, you know, for all of us, we're here, and I think we're very effervescent individuals that want to stand up here and, you know, say that we work hard, we're educated, and we want to give you a different view of the minority.
Could I ask one question? Sorry, that's not really what I'm supposed to be doing, but I just have this burning question. So we have about 5 minutes left. Could you all just quickly, you know, we've talked about the hopes, you talked about the American dream. What does success look to you? What are you aspiring for? When you think of what you most want, what does success mean?
Okay. Personally, success to me, this is going to sound a bit selfish, but in helping others, I also want to make a lot of money. Not because I want the material things. So one day, I want to make enough money where my parents don't have to work, where my mom's illness will be treatable because I have money, where my dad doesn't have to go to labor anymore and come back home after 12 hours working and be tired, where I could give my mom and dad the life that they never had. So I think that's why I do so much, because I want to be able to provide not only for myself and my future family, but also to treat my mom and dad like the king and queen they are, and to give them everything that I didn't grow up with and that they didn't have.
So for me, I believe that there are no accidents in this life. I think that God or Allah or whatever higher power you believe in has molded you the way you are, and you are perfect. And, I feel as if my differences have marginalized me sometimes from the mediums of society, and I feel as if when I grow older, my vision of success is to own that difference and to tell other people that that difference is beautiful.
Everyone's view of success is different, but for me personally, one of them would be to see my parents happy. Happy is success for me, so because they have just gone through so much, and I hope that one day I can help buy them a house, because in the Hmong culture, the house means everything, because the house is the foundation, the root of your family, the root of everything, and a foundation is supposed to be solid and supposed to be strong. And so that's where you can invite all your family members to come together and work together and be one. And then I think another way I think of success is that I'm able to give back to my community by having a career that has purpose, like a purpose career, purposeful. And so that's what I'm aiming for.
And for me, success is living for everybody, living for young kids who are untreated, living for people who are around the world, people who are suffering through civil wars. I feel like God gave me this opportunity so that I can live for others. And my aim for me now is to be a doctor. I know that's really hard, but I would like to face that challenge, so that many millions and millions of people who don't have schools or who don't have enough doctors, then I can go there and help them. So I see success as living for others and giving back to the society.
Can you all join me in giving them one last hand for their generosity?